I don't think I would have done anything different, because I've had a plan since I was 18. This is my house. This is my family. This is how many kids I have. This is my income. This is my lifestyle. I literally printed that out and made videos on it. And then I get there, and I did get there. Like, it's creepy. It might even be worth showing, like, the picture I found on the internet of my ideal family, and it is a silhouette, so you don't see our faces. When I found out I was having a girl, I was like, I literally did the same ages too, like in order that they were made. And then like my truck, dream truck, I've gotten that. Like, it's an old version of what I have now. The home, dude, the home's very similar. I did all that, and like that time at 18, those were big goals.
Yeah.
Now I accomplished everything on my board and all my goals, and I never really looked beyond it.
Dude, when you send that email and you don't get a response back for 2 weeks, I'm trying to think, okay, if I was in that situation and I send it out, dude, I don't know. I don't know what I'd do. I've been a go-getter as well, but I think, I don't know if I would have responded, or if I would have had,
you
like,
been like mad,
or just sad. I would have been like, I guess I just sucked. You know what I mean? And then like wallow in my own self-pity and not realize that it's in my spam folder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, and almost things like, I think about, like, when you were saying that story, it's almost like, okay, it's like asking a girl if on a date, or she likes you, you know what I mean? You're just like waiting, and every text you're like, no, I want
2 weeks.
2 weeks, dude, of that. But then yet you had the focus, and I feel like you had some dignity and some self-respect, even to say, you know what I mean? To say like, no, I'm going to reach out again. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just think like that could have been the end, and then Devin probably would have thought that was weird.
Yeah.
You never heard from that guy.
I never would have thought anything of it.
And I just think like how many other people, like, it's okay to keep reaching out.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think about some people who've reached out to me numerous times, and we've gotten them on sets.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's times where I'm like, I'm just busy.
Yeah.
Like I'm not forgetting about them. I'm just like, oh no, I'll get to them when they're ready. You know what I mean?
You appreciate it when they follow up.
Yes, it is. Yeah, you appreciate it. And so I just think that's where they're at. If you're in your career right now, or you're trying to get into it, just keep being persistent.
Yeah. I actually appreciate when people are. And I think back to those days when I was like walking into production studios that were local, just to introduce myself as this high school kid. And they're just like, who are you? Didn't get anything from it, but it's like, if I would have kept going, I probably could have easily got on set, or like, but it was just like, we appreciate when people are persistent and like want to keep trying, because we're like, oh, they're driven. There's a little piece I see in there.
The biggest thing is that you just hope that they're not a weirdo. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I guess the thing is, be good, be competent.
Yes.
If you're going to do those things, because that was the other thing too, is I love that when Carter asks you if you're nervous, this is your big day, and you're like, no, I'm ready.
Yeah.
And I think, I remember hearing a woman talk about something. She said that it was like manifesting a parking space or something like that. And so she's like, I want to manifest myself a parking space as close to the entrance. And she said there was a parking space that showed up, and it was a parallel parking spot. And she's like, I don't know how to parallel park.
Nah, you're not ready for the opportunity.
Yes. And I think that's like a big thing.
Yes, 100%. And that's a good point. I didn't even think about, like, I was ready for that opportunity when I got it, especially when like it was like, hey, I can't be there. Like I was like days. It was like, hey, Tyson, are you ready? Like, you can direct this? And I just was like, of course. Like, I know how to run a glide cam. Like, I can absolutely do that. And it was almost like I knew I was going to work for him. It was a little creepy.
Dude, that's so rad, man. And there's so many other things I feel like we could unpack in there. But like, cause I remember you during that time. I remember asking you like, bro, like, what's the red like? You know what I mean? Or or like, how does he import his footage? Like, what's the file size? You know what I mean? Like, I was like, oh my gosh,
the red and the glide cam, and oh my god.
Yeah, because it was all this. It was so untouchable.
Yeah.
And you were there, like in the sky, like touching. And I was like, oh my gosh, dude, this is so amazing.
And that was kind of surreal to me, because it was like I knew this was gonna happen, but I didn't. Even then, it was like still weird. Like it's like I knew it, but at the same time, I just couldn't believe it was happening. It was kind of like that whole group was like godly in a way, right? Untouchable.
Yeah.
And here I was mingling with them at that point. But yeah, man, this is like half of kind of,
bro.
But this is a huge piece. Like, getting onto that team was huge for me, and man, got to experience so much. Like, talk about relationships.
Yeah.
Talk about traveling, meeting people, creating content that's so diverse in so many different, like so much of my experience came from those 4 years that I was there. So
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. He really did. He was, Devin, I think he's done this with so many people's careers. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Lindsay Sterling, obviously. You know what I mean? Kickstarted her career into what she has now. But Devin,
still to this day,
yeah,
I'll run into people and be like, yeah, I used to work for Devin Supertramp. Oh, I knew who he was. Like, he did this for me. Or like, or like, I know Creighton. Like, oh, I knew Creighton from these days. It's like that whole group just touched a lot of
they did. And
different
you know
people.
what? I think there's a lesson to learn there too about not burning bridges.
Yeah.
But also, I think Devin is an example of I think, and giving back, giving opportunities. Do you know what I mean? Because I remember something that was always so surprising about Devin when I first came on. He's like, Zane, I really want you to succeed. And I'd hear him say that to other people. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, like he really wants, I mean, he did. He brought so many people. Your Kickstarted so many amazing opportunities for so many people. And obviously it means so much to me and you because.
Yeah, we got to do a lot of cool things. It kind of kicked us off. But yeah, shot there for a long time. Ended up it got to a point where we had different teams. And this is before you came on, but like Seth and Devin were kind of a team. Me and Carter were going on a lot of shoots together. It was just me and him, or I would go by myself and shoot with Creighton or someone from the team. And so just did a lot of traveling and a lot of shoots. And during this time, I think it was the first year I started working. I had gotten married right before I started there. I found out we were pregnant with our first kid that first year I was there. And then as I got further into the career, I started to get burned out of traveling because I had a kid. So he was probably like 2 or 3 at this time. And I just remember being in Brussels and just being unmotivated to be there. And it was like, because you go to Europe enough times, it's like every city is literally the same, just marble and stone. But there's really cool, unique experiences that come with that. And we got a lot of cool inside scoops of each place we went to because we were filming. But I just remember being there and just being like tired and just being like, I want to figure out a different way to take this career. But I didn't know. It's like, I should be so grateful because I'm getting to see the world. But I just remember having those feelings. And then it was when you and I were in Florida, that was another, I don't remember which shoot came before the other. It was honestly probably this came after, but you and I went to Florida to shoot with Ryan.
That's right.
And they did the skiing video. And we were sitting in the Airbnb and I was just telling you about my feelings and kind of how I was feeling. And we had done the Sea-Doo commercial and that wasn't for YouTube. And I just remember seeing a big opportunity to like maybe do something that wasn't Devin Supertramp-ish. It was kind of like the next thing for me. We did the Sea-Doo commercial essentially for this company. And or Devin didn't originally, from what I understand, he didn't want to do it originally because it wasn't for the channel. And so Carter was like, well, let's give it to Tyson. And so it was this major shoot, big budget, 5 days in the Bahamas for Sea-Doo. Crazy opportunity. I remember doing it and doing a good job and just owning the whole experience. And kind of got to look at the numbers and it was like, whoa, we made a ton of money from this. And so I don't remember if I was talking to Carter or it was just like, there's an opportunity here that we should look into. And I don't remember how it kind of came about, but I don't know if I was talking to Devin, but I kind of pitched the idea of doing more of these and essentially me being a franchise of Supertramp and going and doing commercials. So, but I had to flip the numbers. It was like, he made a lot. Yeah. If I'm going to do it all, I need to make a lot and he makes some for doing nothing. And it wasn't for the channel, so it didn't end up working out. And that was kind of like a shoot. That's something I think I could pursue that isn't a Devin Supertramp video. Because I wanted to be Devin Supertramp. Now I was at Devin Supertramp and I was like, how do I now be Tyson? What can I do to take that next step? And so started to think beyond that. And when we were in Florida, I was telling you about all this and my feelings, and then I got a cold email that trip from Nomadic, which is the bag company. They've been in business for 10 years, I think now, and they're killing it. But like they were 4 years into it at that time. And they just were like, hey, we've seen your stuff on Devin Supertramp's channel. Like, we love what you're doing. Do you have any interest in working with us? We have a position as creative director. And I was like, whoa, this is a sign, Zane. Like,
Yeah.
this could be the next thing for me. And so I pursued it, went and met with Jacob Durham. He's the CEO, and he was pretty, like, he pursued me pretty hard. He was like, we want you to work here. And he kind of was wondering, he's like, when him and John told me about it later, like, there's no way he's leaving Devin Supertramp. Like, that's the dream job. So when he ended up meeting with me, he could tell my door was open. And so he's like, cool, we're going to put together an offer. We'll bring it to you. So he ended up bringing me the offer, and it was like double what I was making at Devin's. And so I took it to Devin, and I was like, I think I'm going to do this. And he was just like, go for it, man. Like, I'm not going to pay you that much, so you should go to Nomadic. And I was like, cool, let's do it. And so, yeah, that's like the whole next chapter of my career. And that really established me at Tyson Media and really got me to this e-commerce product type marketing career. So every stage kind of took me to the next.
Did those guys at Nomadic, did they take you under their wing at all and teach you anything about business because they were a small business? Like,
I just learned the structure of business. I don't think they necessarily were like, we're going to teach Tyson business, but being in more of a corporate environment that wasn't focused on content. Like at Devin, it was like content.
Yeah.
Here it was sell products, or else we have no income. So now it was like, I just slowly started to learn the structure of business, and that was wild. Just to even understand like a CEO and a CMO and just the different names and departments in a business. That was crazy to me. And so I came in as the creative director, which I really was not a creative director. I was the videographer. They needed so much content, and I definitely came with a lot of creativity, but I just ended up creating so much content for so many years. And it was all about like learning how to build a brand in the beginning. It was like, we needed to build our brand and we need to do all these things. So we were doing a lot of brand plays, and then I started to create ads, stop motion ads that just killed it. And it was like, well, we need to do more of that instead of focus on the brand, which is what a CMO does and a creative director.
And you've never had experience in stop motion before that, had you?
No. I'm trying to think if I did anything stop motion before that. I did that one bag video, and I just remember, taking pictures, experimenting with it. And that, I just remember we released it, and 2 days into it, it's like, this is giving us an 8 ROAS, which is like unheard of.
Huh.
And they're like, we are literally printing money. In those days, it was like things didn't fatigue like they did. They ran that thing for months, and it just kept making money. So they're like, let's do more. And so we did more. And so I just did a ton of ads.
Interesting, because I feel like, again, some people would not do something that they've never done before. Like, you have no experience in stop motion, and yet you're like,
yeah. It took me a while to do that one too, and just being in there by myself. And that was what was kind of fun about it. You've done them now.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like you're by yourself. It's so tiny. It's just little moments, and you're making a 30-second video. It takes you a couple of days to make. And I think I shot 8 hours total, and then edited it pretty quick. But it still looks great to this day. It's very stop motion-y, like it's jittery. Nowadays when I do them, it's like, it feels like it's a real video. But yeah, man, learned a ton through Nomadic. And through that time at Nomadic, I was building my style, really, because I had always done Devin's style. And then I still had my own things, like the Scotland video is a great example of like my style. I started to direct things in a way that I wanted to do them. So I still definitely had my flavor, but it was super focused on making sure it still aligned with Devin's style. And then at Nomadic, it was like, I'm really starting to hone in what I do. And I started to get, I think it was either people reached out to John and Jacob, like, who does your content? Or I was posting it on my Instagram. I can't remember, but I started getting more clients to come and ask me to do content for them for their product companies. So companies like Rags, and gosh, off the top of my head, I can't think of too many, but like I was getting these opportunities with other companies to do their content. And
Binky Bro, I think, was another one.
Binky Bro was one. And there's a lot of through connections, but they all saw my stuff at Nomadic and wanted me to do it for them. And so, started doing it for them. But
interesting. So it sounds like there's also a lot of hard decisions, or even like nerve-wracking decisions.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were with Devin and you get approached by Nomadic. So you're like, hey, this has been my dream job.
Yeah.
Right? At Devin's, and you have it. But then also you get approached something because again, I feel like it's like because you have your eyes on something further along.
Yeah. It's like I'm ready for the next thing and I didn't know it, and then it comes and I'm ready for the next thing. It's like, so yeah, super hard decisions. And I just remembered, Haley's been through all of it with me, and I'd always come to her with these decisions, even like negotiating with Devin, my pay, and like, making this decision to go to nomadic, and like, even decisions prior to that. It's like scary decisions, but always being ready for the next thing, and still always doing the same routine that I've always done, and it's just learning and expanding my mind and trying to honestly just be a good person along the way.
Yeah, well, what's interesting too is I think I'm not seeing any time where you were trying to force something to happen. You know what I mean? Like it wasn't like I don't know.
That's funny you say that, because I definitely was trying to force things. Like I think I was pretty impatient along the way, but it sped up things. But yeah, telling the story, it could easily seem like things are just kind of falling in my lap, but it was like I was constantly thinking of what's next, and constantly being bugged, and constantly like kind of like, I think it even frustrated some people along the way that it's like Tyson's not in this. He's thinking of what's next. Like when I was at Devon's, I was vlogging daily just because I saw Casey Neistat doing it. It was like, I know that rubbed people wrong. It's just like, I promised myself before I had a family that I would be set up, and I wasn't set up when I had my family. So it was like, I'm trying to like money grab and just be successful, right? And it was pretty selfish for sure, but to hear you say I was patient, I was pretty impatient.
So it's so interesting, because like my vantage point on it. But so would you do anything different? Like if you seeing the things the way they played out, would you have backed off on anything, or would you have continued to have that same?
Done the same thing. Yeah, I don't think I would have done anything different. Yeah, just I feel like I literally, I've told a lot of people this, I feel like I scripted my life. I actually scripted here's what's weird. I feel like I wrote a script. I did a vision board. I did a vision movie. I scripted my life, and I never looked beyond like 32, 33. It was weird, man. And now I'm 35.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden it hit me like 2 years ago. I was like, I've never like envisioned anything beyond this. It was kind of like shattering. It was like, whoa. Because I've had a plan since I was 18, and just the goals of being 10 years, even 15 years, those were lofty goals. This is my house. This is my family. This is how many kids I have. This is my income. This is my lifestyle. I literally printed that out and made videos on it. And then I get there, and I did get there. Like, it's creepy.
Yeah, I've seen this stuff, dude.
I should
attest.
I'll actually just,
maybe
it might even be worth showing like the picture I found on the internet of my ideal family, my wife and 3 kids. And it's a silhouette, so you don't see our faces, but it's just, it's creep. I actually think I'm there, because I think of the little girl on the shoulders, and that's Piper's age right now. I should recreate it.
Yeah, you should, dude.
But basically, when I found out I was having a girl, I was like, I literally did it. So the pictures of a man and a woman, 2 little boys and a daughter. And here I am, literally with that.
Yeah.
And same ages too, like in order that they were made. And then like my dream truck, I've gotten that. Like, it's an old version of what I have now, but it's the F-150 Raptor. And then the home, dude, the home's very similar. So it's crazy. I did all that, and like that time at 18, those were big goals.
Yeah.
Now I accomplished everything on my board and all my goals, and I never really looked beyond it. And that was pretty eye-opening for me, because I'll be candid, I've done therapy for the last 7 years, and I've learned a ton along the way about myself. And then I get to this point, and it was like, well, what's next? And I remember asking my therapist, and I was like, or I think I got I had an opportunity. And he's like, let's say you make all this money, and, you accomplish all these things, and you get you have millions and millions of dollars. What would you do different? And that was pretty crazy to me. I think I was literally like 33, and I was just like, I thought about it for quite a while, and I started talking myself through it, and I was like, honestly, I don't think I would change a freaking thing. I might travel a little more. I might like to go on more trips. Already doing that probably as much as I can with kids. I don't need a home that I've got a great home. Like I might go get a rental in St. George or something, but it's like I've got an RV in Mesquite to go stay at. Like I was like, nothing would change. And he was like, cool, well then stop worrying about all that. Like it's just you've built the life you want. So stop worrying about what's next and just keep doing what you're doing. So it was kind of like anyway, it's changed my mindset into, okay, I've got all these, I built my life. I've been selfish essentially. I'm obviously not super selfish. I've tried to be a good person along the way and help a lot of people, and try to be a good husband, try to be a good dad. And now it's like, how do I take these gifts and these experiences? The biggest thing is like, I've experienced a lot of good, a lot of bad, a lot of hardships, a lot of amazing things. I got to give those things to people. Like seeing myself at 18, how do I not try to help those people if they want maybe something similar to what I have? Or at least, how do I help them dodge all the bad things that I've hit along the way? It just wouldn't be fair. So anyway.
That's awesome.
I'm trying to do that.
I want to ask you, Jim Carrey has an amazing commencement speech, and he says he wishes that everyone would get everything that they wish for, to show them that's not where happiness necessarily comes from. Yeah. Right. And in my podcast, we kind of talked about this a little bit, but it's like all of this stuff is, the fulfilling part of, you, like, that's been in you, right? This fire that's burned. But where are you? I mean, like, for those who are thinking, when I have what Tyson has, then finally I'll be happy. But dude, you were happy all along that whole path. Yeah. As far as I knew you, you know what I mean? Like, you always had
the journey.
Yeah, dude. Would you say that that's just like a saying, or would you attest to that?
Oh, I said this on your podcast. I have a tattoo on my leg. It says it's the journey. Mm-hmm. Kobe Bryant said it. It's not the destination. It's the journey. And I've always tried to make sure that was a thing. I was always making sure I'm experiencing life, but I always had these goals, right? I'm always reaching for them. And it wasn't like when I get those, I'm done. It was like, I'll get there, but I'm going to make sure I'm creating relationships. You go back to when I started Tyson Media and I created that video, my reel. I start out, the most important thing I've learned isn't filmmaking, isn't how to create a video that's awesome, it was literally the relationships I built along the way and the experiences that I got to have. It's literally word for word. I feel like I'm watching the video. The experience I got to have with them along the way. That's what matters the most to me. And it's always been imprinted in my DNA to like make sure that's a thing. So the journey is so important to me, which is why we're doing this podcast, because I'm so curious about people's journeys, because things don't just happen. You've had to go down a path. But going into like the next phase, which was Tyson Media, essentially when I made that reel, was as I was building, I was always kind of building I always knew I wanted to do a business. I think that's obvious. Yeah. It was always there. It was like, I gotta do a business. So I started building clientele. Another big client I had or before I left Nomadic was Honey Love, still a client today. And I started to build pretty consistent relationships with these businesses. And Nomadic was still would be one after. But basically, I built up an income that was exactly what I was making at Nomadic. So I doubled my income. So I was making enough money to just not work at Nomadic. I brought this up to the owners, Jacob and John, and I'll never forget it, man. It's probably going to be one of the most memorable moments in my life. But John just says, I tell him all this that I've told you. And he's like, Tyson, we love having you here. He's like, but I'm going to take off my business hat and I'm going to put on my friendship hat. And he says, what the H are you still doing here? He's like, you need to go for this. Essentially, like, he's my boss. He wants to keep me, but bro, you need to go out. And that's not word for word, but you need to go out and pursue this. And I remember thinking, he's right. It's time. And I was doing stuff with Jack Cosmic. I was editing those. Right. Yeah, lots of awesome clients along the way. But that was the moment, and so I think that was like October of 2020. Oh, that was a rough year. And then I started to create my reel. And so I launched December 12th of 2020. And that's when I went full time into my career, and that was the first time I didn't have a job. And it was scary, but I already had great income. And so started on that path of owning a business. And I'll never forget, it was literally January, a month later, Igor, who was the CEO at Honeylove, I don't know if that's his title or if he's the president or COO, but one of the founders, him and his wife, he's like, hey, we understand you're not at Nomadic anymore, and I know you want to start this business. He's like, well, we want to bring you on full time. And I think there was going to be equity in it. And I just remember I just was like, if you'll still be a client, like, I gotta do this. I gotta scratch this itch, man. I feel like I've always needed to do a business. And this is part of being ready. Like, if I wasn't ready, I may have just taken the job. I would guarantee I would have taken the job. And so I turned him down, but he's like, well, we'll still grow with you. Like, we want to grow with, like, they were very early and they're killing it now. But we were like, he's like, we want to build with you. So as you build, we'll build with you. And so they're still clients, and they're our biggest client to this day, and super grateful for them. But yeah, started this business, man. And it didn't take long for more opportunities to come. And I hired you. Ended up bringing you in, Braden first. Braden was actually an employee. It was funny because I'm working at Nomadic, and they knew I was heading this direction. So Braden was a kid that I hired to help me with vlogs and edit, and just I was always trying people, and I just kind of wanted to see who would stick. And Braden to this day is still with me, and he was my first guy. And so he would come into my office at Nomadic and literally edit other people's projects at Nomadic. So thank goodness to the Nomadic owners, Jacob and John. They were very patient with me, and I always hope that I didn't do too much that was kind of taking advantage. I think I took advantage of the situation for sure, because I'm sure I did a lot of things on Nomadic hours that were pursuing my business, but they were patient with me, and so I appreciate them for that. But just started down that road. And how long was it? A year into it, and I hired you? Yeah, so I needed a director, and so you came in and started working with me. And a lot of growth, a lot of learning, but it only took a year into my business, and then freaking Lumio came along, man. and unfortunately was a good experience. That's so backwards, because it sucked. But there was always that hope for what it could have been. But now, knowing where it's at, no longer a business, sucks, but learned so much. So started that, and it was like, okay, I've now worked for a YouTube channel. I've done my own channel. I've been the freelancer. I've DP'd, I've directed, I've been on features, I've interned on TV shows in Utah, I've edited TV shows. I feel like I had done all these things, and then I end up working at a small corporation, Nomadic, and then I start the business, and now I'm working with all these different companies, and then Lumio comes along, and they're immediately a company that partnered 4 businesses, and it was like a 2,000, maybe more than that, plus company that I was like, I've never done this. And they were throwing equity, and I had a big salary, and it was beautiful and pie in the sky. So I was like, I got to do this. This is the next thing, because I've never done this. I've never been in a corporate environment that's big. That was always weird to me. And I went into it, man. I was like, I thought it was weird to be in a company and you didn't know people, because it was always small companies. Yeah. So took that leap, and that was the hardest freaking 3 years of my life. Whew. And you were there through it.
Yeah, I was.
Yeah.
Was there any part, Ty, where you felt like you weren't ready? You know what I mean? Because it seemed like.
Oh yeah.
So,
yeah.
Because I think that's important to talk about too. Because I think it's not always playing it safe, right? Not saying, okay, now I'm ready, I can go.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
Great question, because if I look back to everything I've said I was ready for, I don't feel like I was ready. But looking back, it's like I was ready. Yeah. But when it happened, I was taking leaps of faith every time. I remember getting this Lumio opportunity with Haley, and I was just like, it's going to be a grind for 4 years, but 4 years I'll vest my equity, and it's going to be amazing. So just know the next 4 years are going to be hard. I don't know how to do it. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to do it. And essentially why it was hard is the deal was one of the guys that wanted to recruit me, Mike, he was like, we want you full time. We want all you. We understand we could hire you in your business, but we want you. So I said, I will come on as long as I can keep my business running. I had you there, and I basically talked to you. I said, hey, I need you to kind of run things while I'm doing Lumio, and I'm going to be able to like be there in the morning, but then I got to go 9 to 5 at the corporate building, which is pretty close to our office. And then 5 o'clock to, 9, 10 o'clock, I'm going to be able to work on Tyson Media. And I would show up on shoots that you were directing and you were in charge of. And you helped me through a lot of that, because I essentially handed you the keys kind of, and I was just like, I need you to run my business while I build this.
I put on your shirt and it was too big for me.
But but I was like, I'm going to learn politics. I'm going to learn a massive corporation. And by the end of this, I'm going to know a ton of really rich people, because Lumio was supposed to be amazing. And the opportunity was there, man. Everyone was going there. It was like, you look back and it's unfortunate. It's sad, because it's like, man, it was primed. Yeah. It was going to be beautiful. Obviously, the economy kind of, I think, ruined it more than anything, which is out of their control. Yeah, it just ended up not being a good thing. But it was a great opportunity through those 3 years. Like, yeah, it turned out to be a good thing.
Yeah, it did.
It brought a lot of opportunities up to this point, and I learned so much. So much. So I think it was absolutely supposed to happen, and I wouldn't change it for anything. But yeah, man, I've been talking for a long time. How long are we into this? Sheesh.
Dude, this is awesome stuff, though.
I think it's important to talk about, and we're here. Let's just keep doing it.
That's what I think too. I'm just trying to find a little note.
We're like 2022-ish right now, like 21, 22, and right now it's 25.
That's crazy.
So we've got a lot of things that kind of happened up to that point. But any questions about it?
Yeah. So I feel like I want people to. I'm trying to think of the example. So I want to see, it was Alex Ramosi. It says something like, "Oh, I'm going to post a video a day, right, or a week, or something like that." And then someone's like, "No, I'm posting like 5 videos a day." And he's all like, "Whoa!" Like the level of what he thought would bring success wasn't even close, right? I feel like people need to understand the level of hustle that needs to go into this. And you say it's hard, you know what I mean? It was a hard time. What are you sacrificing there? You know what I mean? Like what's going on? What things are you saying? You know what I mean? Who's getting you through, this stuff? Like what are you doing to help you get through it?
Yeah. When I say it's hard, it's kind of sacrificing what I want now, what I want in the future, but I want it now, which is quality time with my family. I've got kids. At this time at Lumio, I think I'm just having Luca.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm just having Piper.
Mm-hmm.
Luca's 2. So I have 2 kids. Most importantly, time with my wife. And this was like a mutual agreement when I started Lumio. It was like, you've seen me hustle when I was starting my business at Nomadic. You've seen me hustle when I'm doing my business. This is going to be a next step, meaning I'm going to be home a lot less, and this is going to be a sacrifice, but it's going to set us up. So I think like most husbands, we probably pitch our wives on a big vision, and it's hard to make all those things come true.
Yeah.
And but the hope is that it will, and so I'm sacrificing a lot of things that I will want in the future. But at the same time, man, as you know, like growing up the way I grew up, and not having a dad, like seeing what that did to me, and like it's always been extremely important for me to be there at all of my kids' things. So this is the hard stuff, right? This is like, but I honestly still think I did my best through that, and I was at a lot of things. I was always a priority. I ended up working into situations that worked for that. It was that first year. It was really the first 6 months as I was kind of establishing myself at that company. That it was super hard, but it was sacrificing time with my wife and kids, not being able to do all the trips. But yeah, the nice thing though is before I left Nomadic, we really did set up I did set up our family in a good way, that as an 18-year-old, like that was it. Like I made it, but it wasn't still, you get there and it's like, it's not enough. It's actually not as much as you thought. And so I got the house, my wife's got a nice car, like we're doing trips every now and then, like we're living comfortable lives. And a lot of that came from real estate, and because there was a huge boom from 2012 to 21, 22. Rode that wave, and that set us up nicely. But then that was hard, man. It's just the family stuff, which is like so ingrained in me to be important, to be a good dad, because I watched my dad be a crappy dad and not even be there. And then also a husband, like awful husband. He's like, I gotta be a better husband. I'm not gonna be like him. So anyway, that's the hard stuff. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. But are there any things that you did that maybe you would caution people not to do, that you were like, yeah, that was stupid, that was, I stretched myself too thin, or that was a waste of time, or you were duped?
I would say, first thing that came to my head is equity. I will tell everyone that has that carrot dangled in front of them, it's hard to say because some people get it, right? Facebook people, like Snapchat, Twitter, like some people just end up with a lot of cash, but it's a great recruiting tool. And I got equity offered to me at Nomadic. 2020 happened. So my goals that were supposed to vest that equity, and I wouldn't even call it equity. It was like something shares, preferred shares. It was like anyway, I had to hit certain, the company had to hit certain goals. And that kept me around longer for that year. And then 2020 happens and they don't hit their goals. So I leave fortunately, John and Jacob were super nice, and they actually gave me a bonus when I left. That was kind of like, here's some help. We know the shares didn't vest. And I was like, dang it. So then that was the biggest reason I went to Lumio, was like the shares, right? And then the company goes bankrupt, and that's no longer a thing. But just be cautious when it comes to that, because you think people are like on your side until they aren't. And then it's like, it's amazing what money will do to people in relationships. And I watch it happen to a lot of people. And I'm not even saying it happened to me, but it's just like, I've watched so many people go through these money situations and then just destroy the relationship. So be very cautious about fake money, which is equity. And it's not real. It's cool. And I would say, like, if I got that opportunity at Lumio and I wasn't doing Tyson Media, then yes. But if I could go back, it's hard for me to actually, I don't think I've done anything that I've regretted. Like, I think I still should have done what I did because of where it got me. But like, knowing what I know now, I probably would have been like, freaking screw that. Like, I'm not going to go through all that for nothing. Yeah. Because essentially that's what happened. I got paid a good salary. My business also worked for Lumio. So it was great. But I would have just focused on my thing, which was Tyson Media, and growing that. I think I would have been a lot farther. But it also got me to this point, and it actually built my business. It forced me to build Tyson Media in a way that was sustained, which is what I'm talking about the school thing. Like, we put in systems, processes that allowed it to go without me. And I was still doing a ton of the work, but it was always after hours. But then by the time Lumio ended, it was like, oh my gosh, I've got amazing people here that are, able to run this business.
That's awesome. What would you say? I remember talking to you about this. I don't remember if we talked about it in my podcast at all. But we've had many conversations about this. When we were going into film school, we were basically being told, like, you're not going to be able to have a family. Film is what you want to do as a career. Yeah. I was told that at one point, and I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, it's not worth it. Okay, because we didn't talk about this, because I left the film program.
Huge turning point for us.
This come back until later, and you had a similar reaction, you know what I mean, so to speak. But what would you say to that, to people now, you know what I mean, thinking that, like, hey, if you want to have film as a career, you know what I mean, you can't have a family. Like, how do you manage to be able to do that?
Yeah, when I was in college, like I said, this is always ingrained in my DNA to, like, be a good dad, be a good husband. So I get into film school, and we're getting DPs and directors to come and speak to us as guests. And I would say the majority of them, it would always come up in their story that, like, I had to skip out on my kids' birthday parties. I'm on my third marriage. I don't get to do all these things. I've missed my anniversary this many years, but like, this is the sacrifice you got to make if you want to make it in this industry. And the young and naive person, it just never sat well with me. I was like, that's not what I want. So what am I doing in this career? Like, how am I supposed to have a career that I want, but still the family? And they're making me think it couldn't happen. And so that was the turning point for me, was like, okay, well, that's not what I want. So I ended up shifting from wanting to be like a DP or a director. And I was like, I need to find something different. Didn't know what that was, but that's when like social media started to pop off, and it was like, I could kind of see that. I see Devin making money in it. I see a lot of creators making money in it. There's an opportunity there. So I started the YouTube world and social media, and then found this whole world with Nomadic. And every one of those things are shorter, quicker content videos where you're not on a shoot for 6 to 8 weeks and you have to be there the whole time in 12, 16-hour days. I experienced a little bit of that on a television show. And I was like, this is dumb. I remember getting on, it was, I think, over Halloween, and I was an intern working for free in the camera department. Getting back to set the day after Halloween, and everyone had to work late the night before. And I think, I definitely didn't have kids. I don't know if I was married or not. But I didn't have anything yet, and so it didn't matter to me. But one of the guys gets back one of the grips. They're like, what'd you do for Halloween? He's like, well, I ended up getting back late, and they'd already gone trick-or-treating, and so we just basically ate some candy and hung out. And I'm just like, oh, sad. But I didn't think about it like I would now. It was kind of just like, well, that sucks. So then I start seeing all these other things, and people are kind of bragging about being divorced and not being able to see their family a lot. And that's, you look at anyone that's done that, and I think they get to the end of their life, and I think it's human nature to be like, shoot, like, yeah, I ruined a lot of relationships along the way for what? Mm-hmm. Right? And so, yeah, I think it's changing that mentality, and I'm doing it right now, which is to be more focused on other people, and not so much on myself. But at the same time, I have to give myself credit. Like, I focused on people along the way. But I think I'm just doing more of it now.
Yeah, I was going to say, it's funny not to toot your horn, but you say that you're pretty selfish. And I was like, that would not be any word I would use to describe you.
Thanks.
You know what I mean? Like, you've given me so much, you know what I mean? And I've seen all the other people that you've given opportunities to and helped out for nothing in return. Yeah. Which I think is a huge part of your character, being like of who you are and who you've become. And I love what you just said, you know what I mean? So my next question is, how would you define what success is? Right? Is success fame? Is success money? You know what I mean? What to you, people going into this, like what is Tyson? I want to know what Tyson Henderson defines the word success with.
Yeah. It's funny because I still think a lot of people don't know. I hope I know what it is. But I've been in many situations where I hear people talk about success, and it's like, money, I've got this much things, these gurus, it's cool. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, success to me is health and getting to a point in your life where maybe, yes, you do have money and you're able to do fun things, have great experiences, but you're healthy when you get there. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people, and I think I'm guilty of this, is like working so hard that you don't focus on your health or relationships along the way. And you get there and you think that's success, but you get there and you're like, this isn't success. So what the heck was this? What was this money hungry, step on people, climb the ladder success? And then you get there and it's like, no one likes me. My kids hate me. That's not success. So what the frick is success? It's getting there where you're healthy and you've nurtured relationships enough along the way that when you are there, I think when you get there, let's say the money comes along the way and you've helped people, you're like, I just want to give it away. I want to actually so I think success is being healthy enough to enjoy your successes, mm-hmm. but also to give it away. I think helping people as much as possible. So let's just say you do have the money and you have the experiences. Now you're like, how do I offer those things to other people? How do I donate more money? How do I give experiences to other people that I have experienced? Or, I think a lot of that will go into your kids too. And it's just like, so I don't know I think if I was to put success in a nutshell, it's having the health to enjoy life with the people you love.
That's awesome.
I hope that came through and it just
get passionate. Do you just want to say it again?
Success is having the health to enjoy experiences with people you love along the way, and they all like you. Like, that would be cool. So that is my goal,
That's awesome.
is to get to that point.
Yeah, and I feel like, I mean, with this and with your school, you know what I mean, the things that you're doing, is I think you're trying to teach that, you know what I mean, and teach people the business side, get people motivated who are in this industry, encourage people along, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I'm just thinking, like, you know, 15 years ago, you know, little Zane and Tyson watching this.
Whoa.
Do you know what I mean? Is this something that we would be like, oh, yeah, okay,
Dude,
we can do it? Like,
that would be crazy. That's a cool thing to think about, like us watching this video.
yeah, that would be so interesting. You know, I think about hearing you say, or, you know what I mean, about how, like, after I can just imagine us, like, leaving class, right? Leaving from that guest speaker and being, like, so bummed and being like, well, I guess I'm not going into filmmaking.
Yeah, because it's going to F up my family.
Yes. Yes. And, but then all of a sudden we saw this.
Yeah.
And to be like, oh no,
Oh,
you can have it.
yeah.
You can have it. And granted, I think, you know, the film industry has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, and it's changing more and more like crazy, even with AI. Like, that's crazy. So it changes so fast right now.
Yeah. But I think you have taught a lot in the sense of, okay, let's see how Tyson ticks, because I think it's interesting. The first word you use to describe success is health.
What is life without it? Can you imagine having a great family life, but you're freaking sick?
Yeah.
You got to make sure you got to take, it's the whole airport or airplane analogy, and putting the mask on first and then helping the other people. I say selfish, but it's like, you got to take care of yourself first. And if you're not able to take care of yourself, you're not able to take care of other people. So yes, I think that's number one. I think a lot of people overlook it because they just expect to be healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But then things happen, man, out of our control in so many ways that eventually that can take health away. And so we take it for granted. So I like to prioritize that. And even more now as I get older and I, bend over and something hurts. It's like, wow, I need to be more focused on my core, when all I want to do is bicep curls. My young days. Now I'm like way more focused on my cardio and core. So yeah.
I love that, dude. I think it's so interesting. It's so insightful. Let me just check my notes here.
Yeah. But I don't think there's anything in there that's going to kind of go off of but basically I wrap things up at Lumio, and now I'm full-time back. And that's like what happened when things ended at Lumio. I realized I had extra time to focus on building a business. So I'm starting this new agency. We're building a new branch of Tyson Media, which is we're calling Tyson Media Pro, and it's a platform. It's an education platform. It'll eventually teach people how to land clients, but right now it's really just how to sustain relationships. And it goes into hiring, training, communication, the onboarding process to really set yourself up for this down the road. So like setting the standard for clients to look forward 6 months even, and just say, oh, they've got their stuff together enough to get us to 6 months versus just a one-off project. That's crazy. So it's teaching people how to do that, but ultimately it's to get to this point. And I think that anyone in any industry, but I'll speak to filmmaking specifically, is, like I said, you get good at a craft. And then I shouldn't say this because not everyone wants to do this, but I think eventually everyone wishes they had more time, especially if you get good at something. You get good, you're going to get it's going to be hard to say no. You're going to have a lot of opportunities, and you're going to start drowning in your work, and you're going to start to kind of neglect it and hate it. So then it's like, you can back off and just do less, and just, and that's fine. And just maybe have a more chill lifestyle and make what you need. Or you can go another route, and that's start to build teams and build systems and processes and bring people along with you. Because I think that you're helping people while you're also helping yourself. Mm-hmm. So you're giving back, but you're also building. And so it all comes down to building the lifestyle that you want. And for you and I, it's having time with our family. It's having time with, be able to go on experiences, or having a client come and be able to choose what you want to do inside that business or that client, right? Like this project, I want to just stand back and help produce, or I want to direct, I actually want to edit that work. Having the freedom to choose, I think is important. So that's what this whole education coaching platform that we're building is for. It's to give back and teach people how to do what I'm doing and living the lifestyle I'm currently living. Even though this is my lifestyle, I want to teach people how to get to theirs. Everyone's got one if they really think about it. So working on that, Filmmaker's journey is honestly, I've kind of realized it's kind of a cool way to also give back. I realized after Jack's, I'm now I'm documenting people's life in their careers, and I'm putting it on film. And think about it, Ollie could go watch this and be like, that's my, like this, I'm kind of giving people an opportunity to tell their story and put it down like as if it was written in a book. So this is also, it's supposed to teach. I want it to be able to inspire people. Like, let's say they want to be a writer or a director. Well, then let's go watch Zane's podcast because I'll be able to learn some things. Or I want to grow a business like Tyson, I'll watch that one. Or I want to be a DP and go watch James Terry's podcast. So it's teaching people on the way as helping the person on the podcast document their lives. So there's that. And then, just always looking for opportunities to invest. And that's kind of all of it in a nutshell of where I'm at currently after all of these crazy experiences. And it's gonna be wild to see what even comes beyond this. It's all unknown. We're all kind of hoping things are successful and things help. Mm-hmm. But right now it feels like nothing's happening. It's like just starting something new, right? Mm-hmm. It's a little snowball.
So a couple things I think will help people out there. First one is, let's say they're a little bit older. Let's say they're in their 30s. They're at a job that they don't like. They are inspired. Is it too late? Is it too late for them to change and pursue this passion of filmmaking and on this journey?
Yeah.
And the other one is that maybe people are thinking this is just too oversaturated. Like everyone, and their dog has a camera now. You know what I mean,
bro?
Talk about that.
How many times have we been there? I can't get on YouTube. It's too late. 2012. It's like way too late, right? But you still do it. And here we are 12, 13 years later, and it's still early. And it's like, you think about it that way. It's like, it's never too late to start. Things are going to change. And everything I tell anyone when they're kind of wondering where to start, it's like, I don't know, but start. Do you have something? I just got a call from my friend yesterday, and he was looking into school, and he's like, so is that a good place for something like this? And I'm like, yeah, but there's also this. But dude, just do something. If you think that's a good place to start, go there and just start doing stuff. I'm just doing school. Like I said at the beginning, we started and I completely changed it within 2 weeks. And it was like, I wouldn't have known to change it if I didn't start. And then, but it's frustrating to me because it's not perfect. It's like, I wanted it to be perfect. Now I have to retract and rethink it. But it's like, it's part of the process. So to answer your question, it's never too late. You have to start and learn along the way. And people are always like, well, I can't do that because what if I fail or this doesn't work? You won't fail if you don't give up, right? I think Alex Hermosi said that recently in a podcast. He's like, you'll never fail if you just don't quit. It's true. So just start and don't quit. And then you won't. And the fails, you look at failures as learning experiences, not as trials. Okay, that didn't work. What did I learn from it? And it's essentially what we're doing right now with these podcasts in this school. We didn't record on one camera on your podcast. What did we learn from that?
Yeah.
Record on the podcast. He'll never live it down. Record on the podcast. So it's like these failures, as frustrated as I was, it's like, hey, we learned something and now let's adapt and change. And we're doing it constantly with everything we're doing in life. And I think that's how we have to look at it. And I need to take some of this advice myself because life gets hard.
I believe it. You've touched on it without specifically saying it, but I think it's important. Can you do this alone?
No. Easy. No. Even if you're doing a business alone, Like, let's say for you, for example, you have your agents, your production company, you don't have employees. Yes, you have partners.
I have business partners, yeah. Because I know I can't do it alone, but.
Okay, that's true. You have business partners, so not the best example. But if you wanted to do this without a partner and you just wanted to be a filmmaker in any capacity, you need a support system because it's hard. So that could be a spouse. That could be a father, a mother. Like, we can't do. And what is life without people? We are literally here to have relationships. Think about going to an NBA game and you're in the stadium and you're by yourself. That experience is not what you it's kind of like watching a game on TV versus being at the stadium.
Yeah.
People there create these experiences that makes them better. So when you bring people into your circle and you build with people, it makes the experience better and more enjoyable, and not only for you, but you're helping other people along the way. So yeah, definitely don't do it by yourself. Find people, and there's tons of them.
I love
that want to do things like you.
See, I love. Well, you know, it's like when people ask me about film school, I give the same advice that you do, and I say, look, I don't think film school is necessary to be a good filmmaker or to start making stuff, but that's where I met all my core group of friends. Was from film school. Yep. Like, it was the networking, man.
Yep.
And like, I wouldn't be here without UVU.
Yep.
Like, I really wouldn't have been. I wouldn't, and so anyways, I just want to attest to
go get yourself involved with people. And that's kind of like college is an opportunity to go get yourself involved with people. If you go into an online film school, go to the networking events, it's literally just go to people. You can do it by yourself, but then you'll be amazed how much quicker it goes when you start to go to these things, and then you pop into their head when something comes up later and you're the guy to do it, and they'll call you, and more opportunities will happen. And then it's just all about helping people, because ultimately is the best analogy and something I'm really trying to live by. But think about the purpose of an airplane. Okay. What would you say it is?
To get someone to point A to point B, right? Faster than driving.
Okay, so let's say the airplane gets someone to point A and then it just turns right back around and goes to point B. Did it help that person?
No.
Because they didn't get off, right?
Yeah.
So is a plane's purpose just to fly someone quick to get them somewhere and somewhere back? No.
Yeah.
Think of our lives as an airplane. If this airplane flies to point A empty, but it did that, and it has 1 million miles, and it's flown all over the world, but it's done it by itself, and it's landed in all these different areas and has this big celebration at the end, like, oh my gosh, he's flown 1 billion miles, this person's amazing, this airplane's amazing. At the end of it, what did it do?
Yeah,
what did it accomplish? It didn't help anyone accomplish what they wanted to accomplish. So ultimately, an airplane's purpose, which is the same as us, is to help people get from their point A and help them get to their destination. So I'm trying to live by this now, is like, I want to work with people like yourself, and I want to help them get to where they want to go. And ultimately, that's a fulfilled life if you do that enough times, is being an airplane full of passengers and you're helping them get to their destination. And that's a fulfilled life, because then it's like that airplane's like, cool, I helped millions of people get to where they wanted to go.
It's awesome.
So yeah.
Amen.
Amen.
That's great, dude. Any final last thoughts, words of encouragement?
Yeah. I think I've given a lot of advice. I've given a lot of ideas, maybe through my experiences. I think I'll leave with kind of just a note on not just this industry, but just mental health in general. And that goes into any industry. And I remember being like 28 and hearing about depression and just things that are mentally hard, and kind of thinking like, toughen up, especially with all these like things that I've read. It's like, you can get through it. Like, it's a mental thing. It's like with our wives, when they get a headache, go drink water. Right? It's your fault. Take care of it. And then actually going through that and experiencing through different trials that I've had in my life, and it starts to bring up things mentally, it sucks. And so to actually have that experience and to go through those things, mental health is like something that is so important to me now. And it's like trying to help people and just relate to people along the way to help them get through that. And just that, don't be so hard on yourself. Maybe when you get to this point, stop focusing so much on you and start focusing on other people, because that's ultimately the good life. And that's where I'm trying to get right now, is I have been very focused on me and my career and my, I think I've done a lot of good along the way, but now it's like I'm taking it to a new level of stop focusing on myself and how do I live the actual life, which is helping other people. But how mental health can actually take a toll on that and make you feel like life's not worth living. But that's what I want to kind of express to people, is that I don't know how to go into, I'm kind of struggling with this, how to actually, but it's just like kind of what I was telling you earlier with like comparison and
yeah. How about this? Do you, Tyson, go on to social media and compare yourself to other content creators? Like, what's your take on that? Because I feel like it kind of helps with your final advice here.
Yeah, I think along the way, it's easy to compare yourself to others. You might see what I'm doing and think I haven't made it, or I haven't done enough for what you're doing, and like, I haven't done this. Compare yourself and get yourself down. I don't know what my advice is for that, but personally, like, I just stay off of social media for the sense of looking at things, and I actually get on social media just to post because it's tough on me mentally. So I guess more than anything, just understand that you may think I have it together, and I've been doing everything I need to help the mental, but I don't, and I'm still trying to figure it out. I'm trying to figure out how to even express this advice, but just know that I'm going through a lot of crap myself, and that you're not alone. And I think everyone does. And it's so easy to look at even my Instagram, man, I'm guilty of it. Go look at my Instagram. It looks like I'm living the perfect life. Everybody's got their crap. Everybody's going through it. So you're not alone if you are. So just know that you're not alone. That's what I really want people to understand about it, is that I've dealt with thinking I'm invincible. I can get through it with my routines and all my things. But then life gets stressful, experiences happen, you have kids, you're married, things get hard, and it starts to bring up more things as you get older. Yeah, you can't give up though. You got to keep going. Understand that everyone's dealing with their crap, and I'm still figuring it. I'm still struggling with it. But yeah, that's kind of what I just didn't want it to be about like filmmaking advice. I think I give it enough, but it's like, we're humans, right? And I just want people to understand that I'm not perfect, and nobody is, but I'm trying. Really hard.
No, but I love that so much. You know, it's interesting, and I think what's so cool about these filmmaking journeys is how similar they are.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And when you realize, you're like, oh, like the human condition, I think, is thinking you are so alone in the way you're going through stuff, and then all of a sudden when you start sharing it, and all of a sudden everyone else is like, me too,
dude,
and you're like, whoa.
That's a good point, because I just thought, like, as I've gone and traveled the world and I've met a ton of people and I've got a lot of friends, you start to realize that every single person, race, religion, culture, everyone is a human being. Everyone has insecurities. Everyone's struggling. Everyone wants certain things and isn't getting them. Dude, we're all the same. It's so easy to look at the 18-year-old version of me and seeing Devin Supertramp thinking they're perfect. Like, this is godly. Or even seeing famous football, basketball players, movie stars. Dude, everyone's got their crap. And I've got mine, and I'm just trying to deal with it the best I can.
Dude, that's awesome. I think that's great advice.
Okay.
Dude, I think this whole piece is, hey, we know you came for filmmaking tips. No, but
this is the philosophies of life, right?
Yeah, no, I think it's like, okay, well, what makes the man, do you know what I mean? To be able to do this?
Yeah.
And I think it's super helpful because I feel like as a creative, you know what I mean, even going on through a business, you know what I mean, how many times since my 2 years sitting in my basement being like, I'm the worst, dude. Everyone's got it figured out except me. You know what I mean? Everyone's hiring everyone else but me because I'm the worst. You know what I mean? It's like you go through this crazy stuff, but it's probably more along the lines of actually that email's just in your spam folder.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Or actually it's just, hey, it's just
Perspective.
It's just not yet. You know what I mean? But it's coming. It's coming down the road. It's in the pipeline. So I love that, dude. Solid advice.
Yeah. Having that foresight and that vision of like, just keep going. Things are going to work out, and yeah, you'll figure it out along the way, and just make sure that along the way you're managing and nurturing all those relationships that are closest to you, and making sure you're putting those above everything else. And then ultimately, when we give our time, when we give our things, it's gonna, you shouldn't think about it this way, but it's gonna come back. It's just the way the world works.
It's awesome.
Well, I think that's the journey.
That is the journey.
Freaking A. A therapy session, bro. Thanks for doing that.
I honestly feel like we could talk for another hour.
I do too. I know. I was like, we got to an hour and a half and it was like, oh, we still have so much. There's so much more to unpack, but maybe we do this again.
Yeah, another episode.
Honestly, we do this again. We should do yours again. And after, my goal is to get to 1,000 episodes. Oh, what have I done starting a podcast, Zane?
That's awesome, dude.
It's so much work, and we've released one episode. I want to make sure this is a thing. So thanks for being on it.
Dude, thank you for letting me interview you. So if you're new to the channel, just kidding. I want to pretend that.
No, I want you to do it.
Well, I don't know what to say.
Wrap it up.
Not over and out, right? That's not.
It's not over now.
That was from our past. To see.
Have a
say. If you want to see more stuff like this, subscribe to the channel, and we promise you that you'll enjoy it. And thank you for watching.
Thanks, Zane. You're awesome.